Okay, I'm here with a 85 Silverado, and I needed to put a speedo cable in this thing, and I searched for about 10 minutes to figure out, you know, that once I got the screws out of the gauge itself, that something else was holding it. I've done a couple of these, but it had been a while, so I wanted to make a little video. First and foremost, with these older trucks, just take your time. If you don't have time, wait and do it another time. You're going to have to focus and have time to figure this thing out, because these things are so brittle it can end up costing some money if you break stuff. Um, didn't really, I get into stuff and forget, but I didn't do a video of taking the dash trim off because there's plenty of videos for that. But my main concern was, once I took my 3 screws out, which was here, there was one on the bottom. There was 2 on this side, I believe, here and up top. They're pretty self-explanatory. The other screws are just to take the plastic screen or glass off. I saw some people said they had 4. They may have been another one here, but it would almost be impossible because it's behind the dash pads. There was just 3. I could tell it was loose. What I did do extra so I didn't scratch up the column was where it shows you what gear you're in. I went ahead and pulled that off. Now you got to be careful. There's a clip here that slides on to the column right in this area, and I marked it, took a picture, because that's what tells you what gear you're in. And I don't think these things are too expensive, but no need to break them. Well, when I started to pull the cluster out, that was scrubbing the top of the column here. So I decided just to pull that off, 2 screws, get it out of the way, and it made it a lot easier. But the main problem is, you're not going to get this cluster out without giving yourself some slack for the speedo cable. So go ahead and climb under the truck if you know your speedo cable's bad. Unscrew that from the transmission. I'm not going to climb back under the truck. It's pretty self-explanatory. But there's 2 nuts under there. They're 2 different sizes. And there's one right on that stud right there. And then you can actually, once you unscrew it from the transmission, pull it and push yourself some slack. And you're going to pull the rubber grommet, out or through, and push it into the truck to give yourself some slack, because that's what's going to be holding the cluster once you get those 3 or 4 screws out. Then another issue you have is the cluster is a little bit behind the dash right here. If you can see it, it's a lip. And then there's another, I need to get some light. Boom. Another lip right here, and you just have to finagle it out. But like I said, you need to be careful. These old trucks are going to be brittle, but once you get that slack, you'll be able to get yourself some room and take that gear shift, what it tells you what gear you're in, off. You should be able to take it out. Now I unplugged a few wires here. It may not be necessary. This one for sure needs to come off to give yourself some slack. The main harness might not have needed to come off, but it's kind of in the way. And then when you do get this to you, you push this pin down in toward the cluster, and that cable will release. Then all you do is pull it back up to you, and I'll show you what the cable looks like on both ends. This truck was all original. Good looking truck. And this is the end that went in the transmission. So there's a pin that comes out of here that goes in the transmission into a plastic housing. Maybe different motor years. Actually, it's not. The cable may be shorter, but it's going to be the same. And that needle goes in, and then it screws on the transmission. the transmission. And this is the end that's on the back of the cluster. When you push that little pin down, this will pull out. Pretty simple. And then you just got a few little clamps that are screwed in. You can pull that out of the motor. The cable was pretty cheap, under 15 bucks right now. So if you have the issue, I mean, by the time you go to the store, really, a couple hours you can get that fixed other than riding around and not have your Speedo. Hope this helps. Like I said, I looked for about 10 minutes and kind of lost patience. And started finagling it myself. I did find a forum that told that finally that said, you know, take your cable apart and push it back through the dash. So hope this helps.